This is a collection of several pieces of lost media originating from Waldameer Park in Erie, Pennsylvania. Hopefully someday, some things featured in this video will be found or solved. Ravine Flyer 2, Waldameer's signature attraction, is a highly rated roller coaster placing in the top 10 wooden coasters in the Golden Ticket Awards every year since 2009. Having ridden this coaster over 200 times, I can attest that it is an amazing coaster, and its first half is one of the best of any coaster I've been on, due in part to its 3 amazing tunnels. However, the first half of this coaster was originally going to be different. In digital recreations of the ride predating its real-world counterpart, a 4th tunnel can be seen on the layout immediately following the end of the bridge over Peninsula Drive. It is unknown why this tunnel was removed, and the coaster stands today with only 3 tunnels instead. The coaster initially had a different layout proposed as well. Before the Gravity Group was hired to build Ravine Flyer 2, Custom Coasters International, or CCI, was the chosen manufacturer. CCI proposed a different layout for the ride than the one we are familiar with today, which is shown on screen now. There is also another proposed layout rumored to be from DIN Corporation, but take this with a grain of salt. As part of the advertising campaign behind Ravine Flyer 2, Waldameer commissioned a song about the coaster. It was very catchy and was used in TV commercials in 2009. The song is about a minute in length and features a chorus that any Erie local will remember.
The Ravine Flyer at Waldameer, we're gonna love it here.
However, the band behind this song is currently unknown. A clean version of this song doesn't even exist because the cleanest version available still features screaming and roller coaster sound effects during the guitar solo. It would be cool to figure out who was behind this song, as not only is it an iconic piece of Waldameer and Erie culture, it's also just a really good song. Ever since the opening of Ravine Flyer 2, enthusiasts often ask, when will Waldameer open their next big coaster? Waldameer has stated before that a new roller coaster is something they have considered, but we have yet to see any new major coaster additions since the opening of Ravine Flyer 2. Yes, they opened an SPF Visa Spinner in 2020, but that's irrelevant. Nonetheless, it has often been rumored that this new coaster would have been from RMC and would have been ground up, not a conversion of an already existing coaster. There have also been rumors of the new coaster being a Morris Skyloop, which would have been located near Mega Vortex and the Merry-Go-Round Grove. In 2012, Waldameer announced a 10-year plan. This plan called for several new attractions and expansions, including many of the Waterworld attractions we've seen added in recent years. In 2021, the park's 125th year of operation, 2 new flat rides would have been added, replacing pre-existing rides. However, the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 meant that sufficient funds to pay for these new rides were not attained, and the addition of these new rides was cancelled. Another concept introduced in Waldameer's 2012 10-year plan was the idea of a lakefront expansion. Waldameer still owns lakefront property behind the Rainbow Gardens Dance Hall, and this property hasn't been used since the 1940s, when a large winter storm washed out most of Waldameer's beaches. The plans for this lakefront expansion included an incline railway to connect the new area to the pre-existing park, a water ride, a family ride, a restaurant, and a picnic area. This expansion was never made, likely due to the fact that the beach area beyond Rainbow Gardens is unstable due to erosion. It has been rumored that at some point, there were plans to convert the Merry-Go-Round Grove into a sit-down restaurant. These rumors originated in the late 1980s when the park's original carousel was sold, but the restaurant was never built, and Merry-Go-Round Grove remains a picnic grove to this day. In 1991, a new water slide tower called Awesome Tower opened in Waterworld with the slide Awesome Twosome. In 1992, another slide called Midnight Plunge was added to this tower. These slides were designed in such a way that there was room for a 3rd slide to be added between them, and this 3rd slide would have been named Liquid Lightning. For years, there were unused concrete footers and even a sign for it at the top of the slide tower. However, this slide never came to be. In 2013, when Awesome Twosome and Midnight Plunge received repaints, Midnight Plunge was also renamed to Liquid Lightning in honor of the lost slide. In 2018, a 3rd slide would finally be added to the tower with the addition of Cannonball. Dating back to 1970, the Wacky Shack is one of Waldameer's most iconic rides. From its unique outer facade to the fact that it is the last ride of its kind in operation, it's a very well-known and well-loved dark ride. Those familiar with the ride may recognize the audio I'm about to play.
Hello, Earthling. I have some instructions that you must obey when coming into my house.
That was a clip from the recording which plays in the queue line for the Wacky Shack. This voiceover clip instructs riders on the rules of the ride and is a very iconic fixture of the ride, especially when you're standing in line for half an hour to ride it, listening to it looping the entire time. But one question remains about this voiceover. Who voiced it? That's something unknown to the public to this day. I have been told that it dates back to 1992, so whoever recorded the voice lines for it is likely still around today. Many of Waldameer's rides are quite old, with some dating back to the 1950s and 60s. This has led their original opening day dates to become lost to time. Most notably, this includes the Comet Coaster, which opened in 1951. It can be assumed that it opened in May or June of 1951, but the exact day is unknown. The same goes for several of Waldameer's other rides. Additionally, the original locations of many of Waldameer's older defunct rides have been lost to time. Longtime Waldameer fans might remember the website WaldaBlog. It was a blogspot website ran by an anonymous Waldameer employee, and from 2008 to 2016, it provided many interesting perspectives of the park during its off-season, as well as updates on new attractions and expansions. The blog hasn't been updated since 2016, and I personally miss this website because it was a really cool way to learn new things about Waldameer. A lot of images from its oldest posts are also lost to time, as various web browser upgrades over the years seem to have removed the images from public view. At some point in 2009, designers from the Gravity Group, the company which built Ravine Flyer 2, recorded an episode of a podcast about Ravine Flyer 2. This podcast was linked on WaldaBlog, but it seems that in the years since, the podcast has been removed from their website. Clicking the link leads you to their error page, which ironically features an image of an incomplete Ravine Flyer 2. In the Waldameer 100 Years of Fun documentary released in 1996 to celebrate Waldameer's 100th operating season, then park owner Paul Nelson mentions a snake pit attraction featuring several snakes, including boa constrictors.
We used to have big boa constrictors in the snake pit, and I was very young, and they had just fed the snake.
It is well known that Waldameer had a similar attraction with monkeys, called Monkey Island, as several images still remain of this attraction today. However, no photos remain of the snake pit, and this documentary is the only place the snake pit seems to have ever been mentioned. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you so much for sticking around. I never expected to make another video essay on Waldameer, but this one was fun to make, so I'm glad I did.